Welcome back. And let me welcome our guest, Dr. Chérif Amir, Professor of Political Science. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Let me first salute our foreign minister for taking the helm of going to 7 Arab countries and other European countries. At the backdrop of the widespread of the coronavirus at this particular stage, not taking into consideration all the warnings about such a virus, and just taking the Egyptian flag. So this is just a salute of appreciation to our diplomacy. Let me here take your opinion of Foreign Minister Shukri's tour to the Arab countries and the choice of those countries and the message he carried.
First of all, I join your salute also to our President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi for all the bold steps that were taken in the last few days for the coronavirus. This is a national
bold decision.
Of course, bold decision. Yeah. And I appreciate the action that we have taken despite all the economic problems that we could face, but still we are showing the world that our president is taking all the steps to protect his people. Concerning the visit of our foreign minister Sameh Shoukry to the Arab states, to 7 Arab states, I think that the message was very symbolic from the beginning, is to deliver a message to the international community that Egypt, when it went to the United States of America in the negotiations about the Renaissance Dam with Ethiopia, still Egypt has allies and has brothers in its geopolitical sphere. And these are also very important allies economically for the United States. So we're showing the world, we're showing Russia, we're showing the EU that the Gulf states, especially the Emirates, the Kingdom of Saudi
Jordan,
Arabia,
Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait,
yes,
Oman, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates.
These countries have a very important presence in the international economy. So we're telling them that these are our brothers and our friends. They stand with us, as we're reminding the world about the crisis of the oil in 1973 war, when everyone stood with Egypt. It will happen again and again and again, because Egypt is the heart of the Arab world.
Well, definitely we're not speaking about this...
of course not in the same level. It's not in the same level.
We're speaking about the importance of solidarity among Arab countries in face of a crisis that can really affect one of the founding members of the Arab League.
Mm-hmm.
And when we speak about the foreign minister's meeting with King Abdullah, where King Abdullah, they did not just speak about the Renaissance, the Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, but also they spoke about different regional Arab crises. What was the agenda exactly of the talks, and how do you view this particular visit?
Let's go back in time where President Donald Trump spoke about the so-called deal of the century, and Jordan had many problems dealing with this kind of deal, and especially the annexation of some territories in the West Bank for Israel. So I think that Egypt is reassuring our brothers and King Abdullah in Jordan that as we have excellent relations with Washington, we will never neglect the interest of Jordan in these kind of negotiations, meaning that we will translate, we will transmit the opinion of Jordan to our friends in Washington, and we do the same thing with Jordan. This is the role of Egypt since the 1979 Camp David Accords. We are the mediator of peace. We are trying to find to build the bridges between any Arab country in this Arab-Israeli conflict and the West. So I think that it's a show of solidarity with our brothers in Jordan, that their fears about any deals are taken into our calculations, and that Egypt's diplomacy will never neglect our allies and brothers there. So I think that the discussion was about how we will deal with Israel's steps in the annexation of some territories, how we will try to mend the fences between Amman and Washington in these kind of deals that they're taking. They are very quick. We're seeing that Jerusalem was declared the capital of Israel, and then there was the deal of the century. Things are getting very quickly. So I think that we are sharing this concern with Jordan. There is another extremely important file, is fighting terrorism, because Jordan also is threatened by the same terrorist groups like Daesh. We are threatened by it. Terrorism struck Jordan as it struck Egypt at a certain time. So we are sharing the info, because this kind of war is a war of intelligence services. It's a war of communication between the security apparatus of these countries. And thank God the relations between President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and His Majesty King Abdullah II is excellent. Both of them, they have the security vision from the past,
yes,
and they know how to deal with these issues.
The tour also took Foreign Minister Shukri to Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and Bahrain. Those are very powerful economies, definitely Kuwait also. So we're speaking about very strong Arab economies. And definitely not just one topic on the agenda of those talks, but rather many. We're speaking about some of the crises in the Arab region and the postponement of the Arab Leaders Summit that was supposed to be taking place this month, but was postponed due to the circumstances and the coronavirus and so on. So from your point of view, how far was it essential for the foreign minister to take this tour, particularly to those countries with the files he is carrying with him?
Well, there's an important point that I would like to share with you concerning Kuwait. Before the trip of our Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri to Kuwait, some political analysts said that the relations outside of Egypt said the relations between Kuwait and Egypt is not really very good now. There is some problems between both countries. Of course, we're used to these kind of rumors. I'm very glad that the Emir of Kuwait, Sheikh Sabah, gave a very bold statement the day of the visit, and he said, "We stand firmly with Egypt's interest and Egypt's security, and we will never relinquish our friends and brothers in Cairo." And this was the strongest message given to all those who are spreading the rumors that things are not going along. And let me remind everyone that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, when he became president, he made these visits to every capital of the Arab Gulf states to strengthen the relations with them. And he's very appreciated there. So no one could really destabilize this kind of relations with these kind of rumors. The second visit, which I think is very highly strategic, was to Iraq. We all know that Iraq, unfortunately...
I was going to ask about Iraq alone, because...
well, let's talk about the other Arab countries.
No, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain, because this is the Gulf area, and then we'll go to Iraq, because Iraq has a certain fight. Please.
Well, of course, this is the question of Iran also.
Yeah.
I think that Bahrain is...
Iran and Turkey and the interference in the domestic affairs of the Arab region.
We always know that this triangle of Iran, Qatar, Turkey. Now these three are acting unfortunately, in a way or another, to destabilize the Arab world. So I think that Bahrain needs really the endorsement of Egypt, because we all know that, unfortunately, Qatar is opening military bases for Turkey on its territory, which threatens Bahrain. And I think that we are showing our brothers there, and the King of Bahrain is a very close ally to Egypt. We are showing them that we are there, that we are not just seeking the endorsement of these countries. We are endorsing them. The fact that Egypt's foreign minister is making these visits is telling them, we are here. Egypt's diplomacy is strong. Egypt's military is strong. Egypt's presidency is really charismatic and very, very aware of all what is taking place in this region. So the message for our brothers in Bahrain was, you're strong with Egypt. We will never forget you. We are with you, because Bahrain is threatened by Iran and also by the presence of some foreign troops like Turkey in neighboring Qatar. The Emirates, I cannot make any comments about the excellent relations between both countries.
Very distinguished indeed.
Of course. And we will never forget how they stood with the Egyptian people in the revolution of June 30th, 2013, and how the outside world, unfortunately, at that time in Europe and the West, was against Egypt. But the Emirates said, no, we will help Egypt economically to get back stronger, and we will invest in Egypt. And this was the strongest message given.
This is the whole Gulf area, but only one country who all stood behind Egypt. And
of course.
At that time, and Egypt will never forget.
Yes.
Its appreciation to those countries
for
and
Saudi Arabia.
Support.
Let's not
Definitely.
forget Saudi Arabia.
Definitely.
Position.
I'm speaking about the Gulfing, definitely led by Saudi Arabia and
of course.
the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, and Bahrain. And indeed, Oman also was part of the tour, and Iraq. And Iraq, because Iraq is suffering from both Iranian existence and Turkish existence on their territories, and even without their permission, and they have ignored all the Iraqi requests for them to get out.
Of course.
And or the same issue is happening with definitely Syria,
Sure.
and that issue is really taking a very weird direction. So how far do you think that these discussions or this tour was essential, particularly that we're speaking about a postponed Arab Leaders Summit?
Look, the problem in Iraq is sovereignty, political and geographic sovereignty. Why? Because we have seen the infiltration of the Iranian militias into the security apparatus at a certain time, which is the popular mobilization, the Hashd al-Shabi. And then we saw how the Turks used the Kurdish part as a threat, and they used to say, we are threatened by the PKK in Erbil, we have to cross into Iraq, and there is no fly zone for them. They can cross any time and bombard the Kurds there. But the Turks, they know that they will get stuck really in this conflict, because the Kurds in northern Iraq are very strong. But Turkey is putting in mind how it will make any economic, political pressure on Iraq. For example, the dams that they're constructing on the Euphrates. They're banning the water. They're trying to starve the Iraqi people. But they have several calculations, the Turks. The Kurds, they do not want to go into war with them, because they're already in northern Syria and in Libya. and you know the losses that they're having there, and Iran. Iran thought at a certain time that Iraq, it's backyard, and they could name even the prime minister from Tehran, they could name it for Iraq, and the president, same thing. The visit of our foreign minister is a very strong signal after all the protests that took place in Iraq. The people, when they went to the streets and they said, we do not want the Iranians to influence our politics anymore. Now we are telling our brothers in Iraq, well, you will find the endorsement, and it's from Egypt. We didn't forget you. Of course, there was this storm since 2003 when the Americans invaded Iraq. And then there was also the uprising in Egypt in 2011, the Arab Spring. Now things are getting back. We are trying to tell the Iraqis that your political future is in the Arab world, under the Arab umbrella, and that we will work together again, because what took place in Iraq led the people of Iraq into bloodshed, chaos, political turmoil. People are not really hoping to find a clear country.
I still remember Mrs. Condoleezza Rice when she spoke about the constructive chaos, and I've never seen any construction up till this minute in any of the Arab countries. They insisted to interfere in their own domestic affairs. But anyway...
Even the Kurds didn't get their independence. They were promised to have a state. They didn't get it.
When do any of the Western countries fulfill their promises? Okay, let's get back to what we were speaking about and the judge. And definitely returning back to the main topic with the main message the foreign minister was carrying, and the message of President Sisi on the judge. And here, just to understand what we are speaking about, let's speak about Egypt and how it carried out with all the good gestures towards the issue of the judge, at the backdrop of all the negative statements that is coming out from the other side. And I have no idea from where did this negativity come from. Anyway, please.
Well, from the beginning of President Sisi's presidency, he was keen to talk with the Ethiopians directly. We didn't even try to seek any mediation. He went there and he met in Addis Ababa with Meles Zenawi at the time, and then Ahmed Abiy following him. I think that we showed the whole continent, I'm speaking about Africa also, that we treated the Ethiopians as our brothers. Even President Sisi said it from the beginning, said, we are not against the economic development and aspirations of the Ethiopian people. We are even ready to help them in their development, because we are brothers, we have common interests in the same continent. But there are international agreements about the partition of water, and we have to respect this. The problem now is that, and this was Egypt's intelligent act strategically, when we asked the International Monetary Fund to step in, to get in the negotiations. Why? Because the Ethiopians, JERD is about investment. There are Turkish investment, there is Qatari investment, some Arab investment, Italian investment. Many countries are investing there. So we are trying to assure the Ethiopians that about the investment, nothing will be hurt. We are trying to tell them the International Monetary Fund will be present, the IMF is there, we will deal with them, we will find a solution. Economically, you're going on your plans, but you have to respect the accords. What is really surprising is after the negotiations that took place in Washington, the Ethiopians said, well, we're not going to sign. And
Retreated from signing, yes, refrained from signing,
yes.
Indeed. We'll be discussing another tour the foreign minister is carrying out with an African tour. This time he will begin next week. But before we continue on with our discussion, let's have this other report. And Foreign Minister Shukri headed to Europe after this Arab tour. Let's watch.
Egypt's foreign ministry said in a statement that Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri arrived in Brussels and France after finishing his Middle East tour. The statement added that Shukri discussed with French and Belgian officials the ongoing situation concerning Gerd Dam, as well as the crisis in Libya, the situation in Palestine and other regional issues. In France, Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri handed his French counterpart a message from President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi to deliver to the French President Emmanuel Macron regarding the latest developments of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. During the meeting between Shukri and his French counterpart, Shukri called on France and the EU countries to exert more efforts to push Ethiopia into signing the agreement on filling and operating the dam, with the aim of maintaining security and stability in the Horn of Africa and the region. The Egyptian and French sides also discussed ways of fostering bilateral cooperation in different fields, as well as regional and international issues of mutual concern. The top Egyptian diplomat lauded the distinguished level of cooperation between Cairo and Paris in various areas, asserting that Egypt looks forward to promoting strategic ties with France. According to the Foreign Ministry statement, the Egyptian and French sides agreed on the importance of continuing coordination and consultation in the fight against terrorism, especially in light of Egypt's great efforts in this regard. Concerning the Libyan file, the two ministers agreed on the significance of keeping bilateral coordination to resolve the Libyan conflict through promoting the comprehensive political solution, combating terrorism, and rejecting foreign interference in the North African country. French Foreign Minister expressed his appreciation of the key and central role played by Egypt to strengthen regional stability, underlining the need to elevate the distinct relations between the two countries to higher levels during the coming period.
Right, welcome back, and back to what we were speaking about in this African tour that will be taking place next Tuesday rather, and also the Foreign Minister will be delivering the present message to South Africa, Tanzania, DR Congo, South Sudan, Burundi, Niger, and Rwanda. And definitely we're speaking here about the some of the most important African countries, including this chair of the African Union, South Africa. And how significant is that visit, and particularly at the backdrop of some of the negativity spread by the Ethiopian sites?
Well, from the countries that you have cited, it's, the majority is in the Nile River, sharing with us, like Rwanda, for example, South Sudan. I think that Egypt is trying to tell the African nations that any rumors about Egypt's hostilities against Ethiopia or Sudan or other country is untrue. We are here to negotiate.
We wouldn't have taken the negotiation instead of all of that. We wouldn't have bothered ourselves to go through all this time, wasting our time from 2011 up to this minute, for God's sake.
Look, we have the strongest military in the continent, and even in the region.
Let aside our legal position.
Exactly.
And our ability. Yes, please.
It would have been very easy to do it like Turkey is doing, for example, killing civilians everywhere. But this is not our way of dealing with things. We have diplomacy, especially with our brothers. And President Sisi used to use this word, brothers, in Africa. We care for them. We are willing to negotiate for as long as they want. We want to spread any bloodshed. That's why we're talking even with South Africa. which is not only heading the African Union, but it's one of the biggest countries in this continent. We are delivering the message that we're still trying to negotiate within the continent as a framework of, like the Europeans negotiate with every country in the European Union. Why not we as Africans find a solution? We had to go to Washington and talk also to Russia because the Ethiopians asked at a certain time that
for
we should,
a neutral mediator.
Yes, but
despite the existence, the call by all Africans for an African solution. Let me take it because my time is running out, and the European tour, and how important and significant is that tour?
Our foreign minister Sameh Shoukry went to France and met his counterpart in Belgium, Jean-Yves Le Drian. And I think that France now, which has a very strong voice in the European Union, understands Egypt's position. They spoke not only about the Ethiopian dam, they spoke also about Libya. Marshal Khalifa Haftar was also in Paris at a certain time. So I think that we are very, very optimistic about our relations with our friends, partners in Europe. We are telling them that we are in diplomacy and we are trying to find a solution for all these problems. On the other hand, we have military maneuvers in the Mediterranean with our French partners. So the message is very, very clear that Egypt is working on all the bases of diplomacy now.
Yes. Before I go, because my time is out, I have to give a big salute to our Egyptian community living in the United States and holding a stand before the White House. And yesterday, some of the Ethiopian brothers joined them. So briefly, in half a minute, how do you see that?
Well, first of all, the Egyptian community everywhere, not only in the United States, are very known for their patriotism. In the elections, they were present. For the Ethiopians, it's not in America. Here in Egypt, they live in peace. They are very happy to be among us. They are enjoying economy here and earning their living here in protection of the state. And I remember when one of the young people of South Sudan was mistreated by some youngsters here, President Sisi himself met him and gave him the reassurance that Egypt is your second country. I'm not worried about the relations between the Egyptians and the Ethiopians. This was exactly what we are trying to tell the world. We have strong bonds. Let's focus on our common interest.
Yes, indeed. My time is out. Dr. Chérif Amir, Professor of Political Science, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dear viewers, many thanks for watching. Tomorrow will be another contentious debate with another colleague. Good night.